Is
Oh,
that
Mackenzie
Susan?
driving. All right.
Susan? Hi, Susan.
Yeah.
Hope you're doing
Miss
well.
Thunder.
All right, let's start that intro again.
Okay, give me 1 second here. All right.
Thanks, Ring.
There's always something new to learn. And here in Rogue Kitchen, we learn by playing with our food. It's Rogue Kitchen Live. Hello, everybody. Thanks again for joining us today. We have a very, very special guest with us, Eoster
Anstine. Hi.
Anstine. There we go. I had pronounced it with an E earlier, so I just want to make sure I get
Stein.
like the beer stein. I even had you as a student too in one of my classes a few years ago. Sorry about that. Anyway, Eoster Anstine is here. She's an MSU alum, and she spent how many months over in Spain, Eoster?
2.5. It was supposed to be 5, but COVID.
Okay. So she spent 2.5 months over in Spain, working for one of the best restaurants in the world. So she's going to talk to us a little bit about her experience there, what she learned in Spain, and her experience at MSU Denver as well. And to go with that, Eoster recommended that we serve some traditional Spanish croquetas. So we're going to walk through that recipe. We've got some variations too that we're going to talk a little bit about, and we'll have Eoster kind of tell us why she picked that recipe for today. And then we're going to pair that with a romesco sauce, which is a roasted red pepper sauce with olive oil, garlic, and vinegar, and roasted red peppers, of course. So with that, Eoster, how are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, I'm doing well. Missing the MSU family. I hope you guys are all doing great. Yeah, it's been a pretty
fantastic
day.
So when did you get back from Spain? Let's maybe start there. And when did you get back?
So I left Spain like March 13th because they started a national shutdown. So I had like 24 hours to get out of this country of Spain, or I was going to be quarantined there for God knows how long. So I left, but I had to buy a direct flight home. But then the U.S. shut its borders. So I had to fly into London because London was the only European country that the U.S. was accepting flights from. And then I got Chicago, which was a crazy ghost town. And then I had to go to Omaha, Nebraska and hang out with my sister for a few days.
Oh, man.
Just because I didn't want to come if I had COVID. So.
Yeah, definitely. That's crazy. That's just a whirlwind, I imagine, for you right there with that. And, too bad you didn't get to spend the entire time in Spain there. But hey, while you were in Spain, let's talk a little bit about our recipe today, just so I can get going on that, and then we'll talk a little bit about the restaurant that you worked at there, and then how you got to that point. So croquetas. So talk a little bit about the area of Spain that you were in, and why this recipe is important, or why this recipe is so big in that region, I guess. And in the meantime, I'll interrupt from time to time, Eoster, if I find some airspace there, and talk a little bit about this recipe. So,
of course,
go ahead.
I was working at Eoster de Can Roca, which was in the Catalan region in Spain, which is the eastern coastal area. And if you know anything about Spanish history, there's a really big conflict between the Catalan region and the other parts of Spain because they feel like they're culturally way different. So they've been trying to succeed, which is its own thing. But the culture there is particularly, it's special to just there. It's not similar to any other parts of Spain. So romesco is a sauce that fishermen, because since the coastal part of Spain, a lot of their agriculture and produce is from the fishermen's come and do all that stuff. So the fishermen needed a sauce that would be created to make the fish that they caught more tasty. So romesco was created as kind of a way to make a more complex flavor with something so simple. So that's why I picked romesco, because it was very regionally important. It's something that's served not only just with fish, but it could be for tapas or for bread, or some people even water it down and use it as a roux for like a base for a soup.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So I don't know if we can see that so far, but I think Jason's not there yet. But once we get the sauce, you can see watered it down, it would be like a really tasty tomato soup.
Yeah, and we're gonna get to that romesco here in just a little bit, but along with that here, I've roasted up some peppers. I was roasting them on the burners here as we were starting, and I put it inside of a plastic baggie here to kind of sweat the skins a little bit. That will help us when we go to peel our peppers. We want to peel that skin off the meat. So we just get the pure, the flesh of the pepper there. Also, we get that nice roasted flavor in there. So that's going on right now, and we'll finish up that sauce here in a little bit. So, Esther, continue, please, talking about the croquetas there.
So the croquetas, so in all of Spain, tapas is like a very typical thing. It's not just special to the Catalan region. So tapas were traditionally a little finger food that was served with beer, and it was usually free. So bars would provide you a little dish of anything they had. It wasn't anything certain. It could have been pretzels or olives. And then they served it. So for every drink, you got a different plate. But because tourism became so big, they started charging. So now it's no longer free. But in very small towns, they tapas. So croquetas is a very typical tapa you would see because it's a little finger food that you can eat easily at a bar. And it's really creamy. It's like a little fried fritter. It goes really well with a beer because it's so creamy and stuff. But traditionally, it's just used from whatever you have laying around that's extra scraps. And it was kind of a way to, during a time of scarcity, to conserve your food and also create something really delicious. So,
that's that just goes along with a lot of cultures too, huh? I mean, a lot of cultures have done that over the years. A way to preserve things. Yeah, absolutely. And as a way of, as a preservation method, or as a way of just utilizing food and making something totally different. It's absolutely amazing how over time cultures have done that. So, well, let me talk about how we're starting off this croqueta here really quick, Esther, if that's okay. So,
yeah, of course.
Basically, we start off croquetas with olive oil and flour. Essentially, what we're making here is a roux, right? So I'm going to turn this on, and really, what we want to do is we want to cook this flour a little bit. We don't want a lot of starch in there, right? We want to start cooking that out. But we don't want to cook it to the point of like a does that swooshing sound me? Is that
Oh, sorry, no, that's my drywall. It's muted on the stream though.
Oh, okay, cool. No problem. Okay, sorry. Cool. We don't want to cook the roux like we would for a gumbo or like in Creole cooking or Cajun cooking. So we just want to lightly toast our flour here.
Blonde.
Yeah, exactly. We want to go for more like a blonde roux. Yeah. Yeah, and the way we achieve that is, we have it'll be like a nice kind of an aromatic, almost a nutty flavor. And our roux will kind of change, especially with the olive oil, from kind of a yellowish green to kind of a little bit more white color, I guess, to it, or a little bit darker yellow there. So I'll cook it up here, and we'll see how we're looking. But you kind of want to constantly stir this stuff, and when you're dealing with with oil and flour. Please, please be very, very careful. The stuff can be very, very dangerous. It's what I call kitchen napalm. This stuff, if you splatter it, it will stick. So just please be very, very careful when dealing with this. Take your time working with it. Pay close attention to it. We want to cook this like on a medium high heat. And as it starts to simmer a little bit here, if we can kind of see we've got some simmering going on. We're a little bit there. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me grab another thing here. So see, we kind of have some. Just be sure not to splatter it on anything. All right, so to this now I'm going to add some cold liquid, this is really where we need to pay very, very close attention because it will splatter up a lot. But I'm going to add 1.5 cups of milk here. And essentially what we're making here now is a bechamel, a very thick bechamel. And a bechamel is one of the 5 mother sauces. And but again, we're making a very, very thick bechamel. So I just want to slowly incorporate our liquid here because if we pour too much too fast, we'll end up with a lot of lumps. And we really work that flour a lot. We don't really want to work that flour a lot. We don't want this to be like gummy and pasty in our mouths. We want it to be nice and smooth. So we want to incorporate this liquid quickly, again, without beating it up here. So, all right, now we're going to add a little bit of chicken stock here. So we're going to add a little bit more savoriness to it, right? And we're going to add, I think this is 1/2 cup of chicken stock. Let me check here. Yes, 1/2 cup of our chicken stock. All right. At this point, we've got this like big clump now, right? It's almost like a ball of dough. Okay, so we're just going to kind of slowly add this in and just kind of stir it around to get it all absorbed here. All right. Again, if you try to stir this too fast, it'll really splatter up all over the place and stuff. So, all right. Okay, so we've added that there. And I feel like this could be a little bit thinner, but I think Esther told me earlier, I think we're good here on this. So, all right. So now from here, I'm going to turn off our heat. This is really, really, really hot stuff here. I'm going to add a little bit of salt, a little bit of fresh pepper. I like the tricolor peppers there, peppercorns. I'm going to add in here about 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese and about 1/2 cup of chopped ham. All right. And obviously, if I had some, like some parsley or something like that, I might add in some parsley for some color, or something like that. But yeah, you can add it. Yeah, absolutely.
Anything that goes good with cheese, which is most things.
Well, like you were saying, Esther, you could add anything from your fridge, right? Like,
okay, so now
I have some chopped up bacon.
We're ready
you
to
could throw
cool
some
this
bacon
off.
in there.
Let me,
if you have
grab a
chopped up
container here
vegetables
to
or
put
cooked
this
vegetables,
into.
you can throw that in too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
hey, Randy Wilder, how are you?
yeah, that's
right, while you're doing that,
like a really talented
Esther,
author.
Susan
So,
says
yeah,
hi.
That's my sissy.
Jason, Randy Wilder
really?
says hi.
Wow.
Yeah, he just won the
pretty
American
cool.
Book Award. So.
And Esther, question for you.
Huh.
Julia is asking, are you perchance related to
Congratulations, that's
Callie
great.
Fajardo Anstine?
I love her.
All right.
I know her last name. So.
Oh, nice. Oh, wow.
Okay.
Congrats.
How's Susan? Is she still working at Metro with you guys?
And Judy, we'll get the recipe posted in
Ask
the
Susan.
comments later.
Can you tell me what
and
Susan
just
says?
keep an eye on the
Susan, have
comments,
you
and
seen
we'll make sure it
Face
gets.
in the last year? Is that her like favorite band ever?
Oh yeah.
Posted here.
I hope she saw it.
And Carolyn, hi. All right.
Keep going.
Oh, I thought they went.
Yes, she is.
To go.
She's
Oh, cool.
Ah.
Man, I wish I could type to Susan, but okay.
I know her, and she's going to be
All
going
right.
to see. They're going to see them live for the first time.
So,
I think Saturday, right, Susan?
After we've chilled off our
Or
croquettes
was
here, we kind of have this. We have this
I
mixture
don't
here.
remember.
All right. Oh, we have some peppercorn in there. That's okay. But it's this. Yep, I made this. Yep, I made this earlier. All right. Now, as we were talking about this earlier, before we started this, as Esther had mentioned, adding potato to something like
And
this.
so this is from earlier, right? You made this and spread it out just
Esther,
to cool down.
what was that you were saying? Some places add the potato.
So actually in Puerto Rico they have something similar, but I think it's called I can't remember the name. But they also have like it's the same concept except for the base is usually potato. So it would be like the same thing as making a gnocchi. You kind of you boil the potato, then mill it, so it's really very smooth and yeah. So you would just kind of use a potato, add it in, or you could just do solely potato. But if you do solely potato, you need to do a binding agent, such as like an egg or something, to keep it so it doesn't break apart. But I think. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Esther. Go
I
ahead.
was going to say the version you're doing right now, the bechamel sauce. I think it's more typically French, and the Catalan region has a lot of French influence. So I think that is more accurate for today.
Okay. Well, I think I remember going through when I was going through my apprenticeship. They would, the croquettes that we learned how to do. It had this bechamel base, and then we added milled potatoes to that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where. But again, I think that was almost kind of the last time I remember making these. So, all right. So I'm just going to point my computer screen down here to kind of do some technique stuff here. So I'm using a scoop here. All right. And it's just portion control there. But yeah, I thought it was like 24. I thought we figured that out last week. 24. I don't know.
Do you ever forget what number that scoop is?
Yeah. So again, it scoops up fairly nicely. All right.
There we go.
And we want to, and again, we're still working with flour here, right? So we don't want to work this a whole lot. All right. We just kind of pinch this stuff together. Sometimes we just kind of form it. I think the traditional form here is just kind of like this, like a loaf, like an oval. Yeah, maybe a football or like a tournée maybe or something like that.
Yeah, like a little football.
Well, I won't get it to a total tournée there, but so now, what's that?
I said you're going professional. I would have just one roll, I'm done.
Scooped and go. Well, like I said, had a chef once ask me, "Are you dating that piece of food?" No, chef. Why? Well, you're handling it all the time. Okay. So we roll our bruschetta in the egg there. Can you all see that? Okay, yeah. And then we're gonna go straight into our panko crumb. Now I'm using panko crumb. Esther, when you were in Spain, did they use panko crumb, or did they use something different?
Use panko crumb, but sometimes they use breadcrumbs. I guess it just depended where you went. But
okay.
Yeah, in the restaurant when we'd make them for family dinner, we'd use panko.
Okay. So did you serve these at all, or just make them for family meal?
No, it's just sometimes if the production line didn't have much to do, if it was like the end of the week and there was not much they had to prep for, they would make something for the staff meal. So that's when the croquettes were busted out. They weren't on the. I think they're a little too common to be on the restaurant menu. But at the parents' at the parents' little cafe is one block from the brothers' restaurant, and the parents' cafe is like an old traditional like bar, like, so they actually did serve those. So I guess they did have them.
Yeah, so talk a little bit, Esther, about the food that the Roca brothers served. I mean, it's probably unlike anything we even see here in Denver, maybe, or anything you've ever seen.
I could honestly say that most of the ingredients are things I will never see again because they were so special. So the Roca brothers tried to stay with the traditional Catalan dishes, but did like a very modern take on it.
Yeah.
But they also, since they were such an universal staff, a lot of the dishes were not only influenced by their staff, but by the places that the restaurants traveled. So, in one of the kitchens they have a thing called calzots, which is a really big traditional Catalan food, which is fried onions. But the Roca brothers, rather than serve just a plain onion, they would make us boil the onion just enough that it was malleable. Then you'd dredge it in rice flour. Then you'd boil it again, and then it'd become this gelatinous rice flour, like a rice noodle, but it was filled with an onion somehow. And then you would top that with like a sesame paste, and then top that with like a octopus ink. So it was pretty exotic things. That's just one dish, and the menu was a 10 dish course was a base. Like the lowest menu you could order off of was a 10-course meal.
Oh, that was the smallest menu. It was a 10-course?
Yeah, and then the biggest was 14. But
14? Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were there, what were you on the production line, or did you get to kind of tour around the kitchen and get into a lot of things? Or
so it was kind of surprising. When you think I was ignorant, but I would think that there would be like maybe 5 or 10 Dodges there, but there was 40 of us.
Oh wow.
So they had actually, I thought about it, probably 80% of this restaurant ran off of people that were working for free under apprenticeships. So it was so there's great business model, very lucrative. So they had 6 different stations, and the stations would be split between morning and night shifts. And then a lot of people that I was working with were there for 8-month apprenticeships. So you would spend usually a month in each station or so. So I just got switched. I was in production at first, and then I was switched to a actual service station, which was the cold food room. And then I was there for 3 weeks, and then I got sent home. But you're supposed to be rotated to every section of the restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How many, like, there are a lot of restaurants here in the U.S. It's really hard to get reservations, or it takes they open up reservations like once a year, but they fill up for the entire year. Is that the way that the Roker brothers were too, or is that kind of the way their restaurant?
So on the first of the month of every month, they would open up their reservations for 1 year from that month.
Okay.
So it would be a month wait typically. But actually, the week before we closed down for COVID, it was the first time that they've ever had open reservations. So they were actually allowing people to do walk-ins, which was like the first time probably in the last 15 years that they've done that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Very good. And while you were there, were you able to, well, number one, did you learn Spanish before going over there, or did you just kind of learn as you went while you were there?
So I learned, a lot of people in my family speak Spanish. So I took Spanish classes, so I would be actually proficient enough. And then when I got there, I was in for a pleasant surprise because the Catalan region does not like speaking Spanish. They like speaking Catalonian. So it was like almost useless because they refuse to speak Spanish to you. So
I thought you were all prepared.
It would be really. Yeah, because even the kids that were from different parts of Spain, not Catalonia, couldn't understand a lot of it either. So I would be on the pass and they'd be yelling at me, and I couldn't understand what, because it'd be like six, and that is like six in Catalan, sorry. Yeah, so it was almost useless. I did not hear very much Spanish while I was there.
So did you pick up any Catalonian?
Huh. Yeah,
Set is 6. Scene is 5, I think, and then adeo is hello and goodbye, and that's it. That's all I learned.
That's all you learned.
It was kind of funny because they'd yell at me, and I just stare at them like, and I pretended they were saying something nice to me, but I didn't understand what they were saying to me at all. So it was kind of helped out at the point.
And so while you were there, did the restaurant provide you a place to stay, or were you responsible for your own rent there, or how did that work?
So since they have so many apprentices that come from around Europe and the world to go there, they actually, I don't know, I'm not sure if they bought these buildings or they rented them, but they had 4 different buildings that they had apartments in. So I was lucky enough to be in the apartment above the grandparents' restaurant, so I kind of lived with the grandparent Rocas, which was cute because I got to see the grandma every morning. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I had my own little room, but I would share the kitchen and the bathroom with 2 other girls. But some of the other apartments had like 6 bunk beds per room, so I got the good deal. I had a room with 12 people.
Nice.
12 people, man.
Yeah, and then they fed us twice a day, every day, so that was also pretty.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. I'm sorry.
I was just say, were you working every day, or did you have some time off? Did you have a couple of days or a day or something like that? You go out and explore a little bit more, or
so I had Sunday and Mondays off, but Mondays was the day in the Catalan region that everyone closes down. It's kind of like the holy day. Not really. It's just the day everyone takes a rest. So
like a siesta day, huh?
Yeah, so it sucked because one of the days that you couldn't do practically anything. So even if you had it off, all you could do is sleep. But and then some days, most of the time you'd work a 12-hour shift, but sometimes if one of the station chefs that you were working under had to travel for a competition, or another chef de partie was gone, you would have to work a double, and the doubles were from 8 a.m. to midnight.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
It was pretty brutal.
Yeah, that's the restaurant world, though.
Yeah.
That is the restaurant world, yeah. So, all right. Well, if we have any comments or questions out there, people want to ask her some things.
Not right now, but answer to your question, yes, Susan has seen Face several times in the last year, but not since March.
Awesome.
But her first show, and we're excited for you guys to go, is this Saturday night. So, enjoy it. Yay. I know you'll enjoy it. I know you'll have fun.
Take a drink for me, Susan. I don't know if you do that.
Have a glass of wine.
I do it.
Have a glass of Malbec.
Is that her thing? Are we like having a Susan fan club right now? What's your favorite food, Jimmy?
I know she doesn't like beer. Favorite food is not fish.
Yeah, it's not fish.
Most people don't like fish. Oh, the anchovies were super big in Spain, and I felt so at home because everyone judges you for liking anchovy and sardines here.
Oh, were they like the white fillet, like nice anchovies? Not like those are so good.
And they even had like a whole section in the grocery store just of canned fish, like literally a whole aisle of different fish you could buy in a can.
Yeah, I think America needs to get over that. Canned fish is actually quite
so
delicious.
Bomb. and sustainable.
And maybe that's something I need to explore more, because like kippers or sardines, I remember those as a kid. They just stunk so bad, and even working in kitchens, I haven't been able to get over that. But maybe I need to explore that a little bit more.
I like sardines.
I know. I have the Costco pack of sardines that you can buy.
Me too.
You do too?
I think I'm all out right now, but Yeah, we do canned tuna
All right.
and salmon too.
Brothers. Maybe that's why it's in our genetic taste.
Well, yeah, I mean, I grew up with my mom. My mother's Filipino, and she would eat a canned mackerel in the red can with the.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait.
Is that
you
good?
can't drop.
I've never
You
had
can't drop
mackerel. All right.
croquetas without me getting a close-in shot on there.
I'm going to dump this in here.
Why is it better to freeze them when they're cold? Does it keep their shape better?
Yeah, anytime you have a soft mixture like this, could probably go a little bit more. Just the oil was really hot. So,
Yeah, that went quick.
That looks
yeah, really. Well, it browns pretty quickly, but I think the oil was really hot.
Yeah, it'll cool down.
It could probably go a little bit longer. But, there's no, other than just a coating, there's no raw egg in it to cook. But,
yeah, and with this, like, you already cooked the flour and the milk, so it's not like you're trying to cook any of the flour flavor out of that and get those proteins to bind. You're really just reheating at this point.
Yeah, and just making them nice and crispy, So, but Esther, to answer your question, so yeah, several times in these recipes, you have to chill the mixture down, and then you form them, and then you're supposed to freeze them. And really the idea behind freezing these is to, number one, set them so that way when they go in the fryer, that breading sets up before the rest of the mixture has an opportunity to basically explode out of there. If that makes sense. So it gives it an opportunity for that breading to set up on the outside there, and gives you an opportunity to get nice and golden brown and whatnot. But
those look so good.
Helps keeps its shape too. So I know it's
Wonka when you can drive things through the TV.
I know. Yeah, welcome to my world, Esther.
Yeah,
I just sit here and watch Jason cook all this delicious food.
I know, this is too tempting.
I know, I feel bad.
Yeah.
All right, let's fry up a few more of these here.
Right there.
I know, right? Just reach through, just grab one.
Kids have so much good food to eat today.
I hope they like them.
What is there not to like? It's like bacon and cheese and fried.
I know, it's deliciousness. I'm definitely going to do these more often though, and play with this recipe a little bit. You were talking earlier, Esther, I think before we went on, about some of the different things that the restaurant would put inside of theirs and one of their stuff. And you said crab was one of the things. So describe that. Like you were in this coastal area and you could put, we've got some crab here. So throw that in. It sounds delicious. So talk a little bit about that. Like the crab that you would get, were you taking the raw crab from the monger there and cooking it, or did you guys get it already cooked and you're just picking it and using it?
So there was one section of the restaurant was just the fish kitchen, so it'd be pescados. So the production line would prep all the majority of the fish to go into that station before service. So one of I don't want to say it wrong because I can't remember the name, but it was in Catalan. It's a miniature lobster. It's maybe langosta. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Langoustine?
And a langoustine. Yep.
Okay, what is it? Can you say it for me?
Langoustine.
Okay, so we would have that, and we would kind of we would get the tail and clean out the guts from the tail, and then they do a quick brine, and then that was ready for service. So once it was brined, it would be taken to the service, and they would plate it with sauces and things. So it was really fresh. I think we brined it for 30 seconds, no longer. It was like a very quick, like flash cook.
Yeah.
But with all the leftovers and things that we couldn't use with that, we would boil it down, and then we'd take all the extra meat from like some of the legs or the claws that weren't used, and they would mix that with the bechamel sauce and use all the scraps and then bread it and fry it. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that also sounds delicious.
It does sound delicious.
Good. I know. I would sneak the tails when no one was looking, but it was really hard to eat a whole lobster tail without being caught. I know. They were just happy to have me stop talking, though. They were like, just eat another.
Eat another. So, Esther, how did you get to go to Spain? How did you end up there? Walk us through that.
I was fortunate enough to be in your class, and Jackson Lamb came in and was in a Jackson Lamb mood, all ecstatic about something. And he said, "These brothers are coming."
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
It's going to be the greatest event Denver's seen. You know, the Jackson thing.
Yeah.
He needed 12 volunteers of students to go and cook for this traveling group of brothers that have this huge restaurant. And he was really, really promoting it, but not a lot of students were interested. So I asked him, I said, "Can I do it with you, Jackson?" And then he's like, "Esther, you have no experience cooking. We're going to do it for the other kids." And then finally on Friday, the week before the thing, he needed one more student. And I was like, "Jackson Land, can I please?" And then he said, "Fine, you can go." So I called up Paula Thompson, who was another teacher, a former professor in the hospitality college, and she gave me a crash course in being a chef. It was pretty. She told me what not to do, what not to act like, how to hold a knife, how to stand, what to say, and I went to her house, and then I went the day of the competition. I was with 11 other of my fellow colleagues at MSU, and we cooked with the Roca brothers for 5 days and prepped these 10-course meals. And at the end, they chose the 2 students that they would like to come join them. So it was very lucky. If I was not in the program, I would never have that opportunity, because hundreds and thousands of people apply to work in these types of restaurants a year, and it's really rare for Americans, especially, to be taken into a European country because you need visas and things. So it was thanks to you guys, and thank you for Chef Bryce, because you taught me most of the basic things I needed to go. Like a bechamel.
Hey.
You did well.
Like a bechamel. Hey, there you go. And I think that was in food preparation and science. And so, and then, in our classes, that's kind of the first class you actually get your hands into food and on food and stuff like that. So, well, I am so glad that you were able to go, and that you fought hard for yourself, and really advocated for yourself to go. That is outstanding, Esther. And I'm sure you'll always have those memories.
So thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And so here, now we're going to talk about your romesco sauce there, Esther. So that I've roasted my pepper and peeling all this stuff off. And what I'm going to do here is just open this guy up a little bit here. So, and Esther, in the romesco sauce in Spain, did they have like the smaller, little red peppers there, or
the smaller ones
kind of pepper?
At the Roca, we actually had a romesco as one of the sauces on a dish, and we bell peppers.
Oh, really? Okay, bell pepper.
Yeah, but we have to put down like 30 kilo, which is like 60 pounds of peppers at a time. So it'd be.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how did you roast those? Did you roast them over an open flame in the oven?
Yeah, we would roast the calzotes that would be used for the rice dish I was telling you about, the noodle dish thing.
Oh, yeah.
So we had a barbecue smoker in the back that you would roast the things or roast whatever vegetable that needed to be roasted, and then it would be brought back into the production line to be further manipulated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So it sounds like they have a lot of processes involved in that kitchen. Yeah, that's, I think to be successful in just about every kitchen, you got to have a process. And,
Mhm.
you know, one of the kitchens I worked in, and if Randy Wilder is still listening, one of the kitchens he and I worked in, we had a process for a prep list. You know,
Mhm.
it was one that, you know, most kitchens, each cook got to create their own prep list. But in the restaurant Randy and I worked in, the chef de cuisine, Randy, or the sous chef, actually came around to each station and wrote down the prep list for that station for the next day.
Mhm.
And it was a very efficient system, worked really well. And, you know, that way everybody could see where everybody was at on their prep lists. And if it got on the list, it had to be made. There was no exception to it.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
couldn't
sometimes,
tell it was done.
yeah, you couldn't just write it down and then be like, I don't think I'm going to make this. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it was always, you know, if we decided, you know, depending on numbers, that wasn't there. But anyway, so Esther, I'm sure that you learned a lot of processes going through all this. Talk about like what was the most intense, or like the most or complex, or just a process that you're like, wow, that's crazy that, you know, you come up with something like that, an inventory system or something. If that makes sense. It's kind of
So
a
you're not in regards to solely like a food preparation process, just maybe a process that they ran the restaurant in.
yeah, or yeah. What was maybe a process that you're like, wow, I'm definitely going to keep that in mind for later on.
Well, okay,
We should have
so
prepped her with these
there's
questions
so
earlier.
I know, yeah, that's.
I'm a natural talker. I got told that they told me to stop talking. They're like, you don't even speak the language and you're still talking. I was like,
Oh, jeez.
I started laughing because I was like, it is what it is. But so we would have to break down 150 pigeons every day, and I've never worked with a pigeon. It's the smallest, babiest little bird ever.
Oh,
And
geez.
and because we just wanted the breast and you needed the breast butterflied and totally cleaned, we had this. It was a pretty cool process they had. They'd have 8 of us in the production line, so it was kind of like a sweatshop in a sense. That one person would chop the head off, then would get switched to the next person, and they would do all the wings. Then the next person would do all the legs, and the next person would clean the breast off, and the next person would butterfly it open, and then the next person. Yeah, it was pretty. That was pretty cool. I thought that was a very efficient process because we could get through 150 pigeons in like 30 minutes. So
Yeah, so
that,
when you
I'm
have
sorry.
when you have an assembly line of people going through that, you know, doing that, yeah, that process is definitely, you know, it can be efficient, be done very quickly, and of course you have teams like that doing each project. Things can get done fairly quickly, so
Yeah,
that's great.
and then another thing that was very irritating, but also I see the importance is every Saturday, because the restaurants were closed on Sunday and Monday, the whole entire restaurant would do a deep clean. Like we would clean the
Oh,
ceilings, the floors, every single crack. Like
oh yeah,
Yeah,
people's
yeah,
top
spice
to bottom.
taken off the spice cabinet. Yeah, it
yep,
was like a military status cleaning, and I thought it was really irritating and annoying at the time. But when I came back and realized how filthy some of the kitchens I've worked in here were, it made me really appreciate that the fact that they would care enough to
Yeah.
clean their kitchen
yeah,
that thoroughly.
Well, and especially when you
oh
have
yeah,
that
you
many
bet.
people, like, and that many stages who, like, they're all kind of. Do they come in all at different times, or they all come in kind of cohorts?
Every the morning shift all comes in together, and night shift would come all in at once.
Yeah.
But yeah, every single station was responsible for
Yeah.
cleaning, and then and then 3 times during your shift every day you would have to do a deep clean where you'd have to polish, bleach, and sanitize all surfaces 3 times a shift. So
Wow.
that was and mop. You had to mop 3 times a shift too. So
Yeah,
intense.
that is pretty intense. Clean, but you know, clean kitchen. You know, that's there's a lot that can be said about having a clean
Yeah.
kitchen, I
Well, and that's
think.
the thing is like the
Yeah.
restaurant industry. has always been so on top of food safety and cleanliness and everything. And so that kind of, poises the restaurant industry well for coming back from this COVID hit because, we've been wearing gloves and cleaning and sanitizing everything every 15, 20 minutes or multiple times during a shift since the beginning. So, if we add a few extra things, we can definitely make sure that we're being safe in this industry in this time. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let me finish up this romesco here. Now, if you saw the croquetas over here, point this down here a little bit. Turn off the fan now. There we go.
So did you toast the nuts?
What's that?
Did you toast the nuts for the romesco? I'm just wondering. I think I was talking and wasn't paying attention once again.
I had toasted them earlier in the day. So,
nice.
Yeah. So one thing with working with nuts, right, is that I always like to toast things. I always like to toast the pine nuts or toast almonds, toast pecans, walnuts. It just really adds that really deep nutty flavor. And I think you get the most out of the nut too if you toast it there. So I did toast these nuts earlier. So right now I have 2 bell peppers in here. I've got about a half of a cup of toasted almonds. I'm going to add 2 toes of garlic cloves here. We need about a 1/4 cup of olive oil and I think about the same in vinegar here. So let me take a look here. About a 1/4 cup there. All right. And then a couple tablespoons of vinegar. We'll just kind of eyeball this. I'm using red vinegar, red wine vinegar. You could use a sherry vinegar. Esther, was there a preference in Spain at all about? Oh, then I'm going to add some smoked paprika here too. About the type of vinegar people used or they would use for that.
So as romesco is kind of like every family makes it different, so it really was based on who's making it. But sherry's it comes from Spain, so I think sherry would probably be typical.
Yeah, I think sherry vinegar is
sherry
the most common.
Yeah.
Oh, sherry vinegar. That's good stuff. Good stuff. We definitely have that at the school. All right, so I'm going to throw in some sun-dried tomatoes here. Seems like it would be pretty good with that. And I've had a romesco too where it's like really, really spicy.
Yeah. Up to you.
So, yeah, I'm taking the spice out just so the kids will eat it later on, I hope. Hopefully they'll eat it. All right. We'll just throw everything into a blender here. My favorite, a Vitamix. We'll spin it around. Let everything catch. I'd have to shove some of that down in there, but we're end up with kind of a creamy looking kind of orangish red sauce. There it goes.
Now, for those of you at home, don't go scooping your spatula there.
Yeah, sorry. Vitamix has a plunger that you can use for this.
Yeah, wait, who still has their plungers? Like mine broke. I'm not sure what happened to it.
I still have both of mine. I just forgot to pull mine out.
Chef Rice, do you remember when I exploded the blender on my face?
Oh God, yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
Do you remember that, Jimmy?
I remember that.
Yeah, but we're gonna. Oh wow, that's delicious.
Yeah. So actually, every time Jason blends something, we have a little warning. We always make sure you cover it. Make sure it's snapped down. Maybe that's just unconscious because we remember you getting hit in the face.
And I always think of that class when that happens.
Burn on my face because it was hot.
Oh yeah.
Because
and the other guy had a pretty good burn on his arm too, I believe. There, so yeah. It's one of those lessons learned. We all learned something from it, I think. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we weren't against it on the show because I think I've definitely had not a full-on blender in the face, but like where the lid will pop off and some of it splashes in.
Oh yeah, a little bit of splash there. Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
You bet. All right, so let's take a look. And you know, Jimmy, this reminded me as I'm making this. This is kind of almost what the beet sauce was that we made a little while ago.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It had the beets, the roasted beets, the onions, the almonds, some vinegar, you know, in there. So it's kind of like a beet romesco, only there was no bell pepper or sun-dried tomato element there. So, but this is really what you've got here. You've got this probably, depending on where you go, might be a little bit smoother. I have seen them a little bit smoother than this.
Tilt down a little bit more.
Yeah, let me just let me get set up here, and I'll get this.
Oh, I see. You don't want us to see your mess on the cutting board yet.
Actually, I've got the cutting board moved away here. So, all right, my daughter is like dying to try these right here. She just will not leave me alone.
Well, give her one.
So,
give her one.
I know. Here, let's see if she likes it. So here, the romesco sauce is a little chunky, maybe a little grainy. You could probably puree it, I think, a little bit more to make it maybe a little bit more, you know, a little bit more thin, or not thin, a little smoother. So, all right, Callie, here. Why don't you go ahead?
Hi, Callie.
Take one in. That's Esther. That's Jimmy there.
You're so
all
good.
Right.
Yeah, you're so patient.
Got to the makeup this afternoon. Okay, Callie, try one. Dip one in, and then tell everybody what you think of it. So, you gotta have more sauce than that. Is it good? Mm-hmm. Now, Callie, when Callie says it's yummy, I mean it's. I did something good, you know, because here, have a bite with more sauce.
So is that going on the menu permanently now?
I think that'll be on the menu permanently now. So, but
Callie approved.
You know, as a Callie approved, kid approved. Hey man, if a recipe is kid approved, you know, I think you've got something good, you know, and hopefully this summer or next summer we can do some of our kids boot camps at school there. So I'm definitely going to throw this on there, at least to show kids how to do it. We'll see. I don't know. Definitely some safety things there, but you know, as I'm going, you know, thinking through all of this, you know, we always have leftover stuff in the fridge, you know, and one of the things I love doing is creating something new or utilizing that leftover, you know, putting it into something else.
Yeah.
You know, so Esther, thank you very much for suggesting this recipe today.
You did well. Those look awesome.
Well, thank you. And, you know, I'm definitely going to try it with potato, as we had discussed earlier. You know, I think you could use a russet. You could definitely use like a Yukon Gold potato for this. You know, and in that, you know, for the romesco sauce there, you know, you could definitely use the jarred peppers if you don't want to. But if you want to take the time to kind of roast your peppers, you can put them on the smoker, maybe smoke them a little bit. You know, maybe caramelize half of an onion or something like that. Roast a half of an onion, puree that in there. It really allows you to play here with a lot of these things, you know, with these ingredients and stuff. So,
but yeah, it's a perfect recipe choice because, like, well, a lot of what we try to do is give recipes or like cooking techniques where you can just take something and then use whatever's in your fridge. You know, like we did a mac and cheese and used up all of our leftovers in the fridge to make fun mac and cheeses, or ramen. You can take ramen and whatever's in your fridge. Like if you got pork, you can throw it in there. You know. I've done a croquette with leftover collard greens and smoked pork.
Oh,
that was amazing.
Oh man!
So
that does sound
try
amazing.
that out.
Definitely, yeah.
Yummy.
Yeah. So, all right, Esther, do you have anything you'd like to add? Jimmy, you got anything? We're so grateful, Esther, that you came on the show today.
Thank you so much.
You got to hang out with us. If there's something that we didn't ask you that you want to talk about, you got about 5 minutes here, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. Anything you want to talk about?
current students, take advantage of the opportunities they give you at this program, because they do allow you a lot of opportunities to volunteer, maybe not in this exact time frame, but generally speaking, and every volunteer opportunity opens another door. So just please take advantage of the resources you get from the department.
And Esther, there were plenty of times when I needed volunteer students. We went and did stuff. Didn't we do something with Taste of the Broncos at one time?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and a lot of people were like, I don't want to know if I want to get into that because it's work. But it was like 45 minutes worth of work, and then after that, you got to hang out with professional football players for the rest of the night, and you got to eat. You know,
I got to meet the president of Mexico through you guys.
Oh yeah, that was a
that's
fun
exactly
one too.
right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that was a really fun event. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, opportunities. A lot of things happen for you.
Yep.
So just that's all I have to say.
Yeah, you know,
very good.
We have 3 alumni here. Esther, the most recently, then Jason, and then myself. We're all alumni, and we've all been like. I know I volunteered for everything. I did every single event that Jackson, threw my way. I was like, "Yep, I'll be there, no matter what. I'll do it." And Jason, I know, like as you were wrapping up your degree, I saw you. Like you were at every single event that we did. And Esther, you were always there.
That's how I.
Yep. I mean, that's how you get involved, and that's how you open up, like you said, open up doors with different opportunities. So yeah, current students,
and it may not happen. It may not happen right away. Definitely take some time for those pieces to fall into place. Sometimes, I think I was done with the program for about 5 months before I got a really cool opportunity through the school to be a private chef, and it's you just never know. But I'd like to to Jimmy's point though, work hard and be noticed in the program. Let your professors notice you. Get your professors to notice you. Do the volunteer stuff. Not only that, but you don't know who you're going to meet outside of the program in the industry. The reason why we like to expose so many of our students to so many opportunities is because you can meet people that support the industry or within the industry, and you just never know who you're going to meet. So with that, Esther, one last thing. Show us your cool little chef jacket there. I keep seeing that.
It's pretty cool. It's off center to the shoulder.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, that is cool.
Because you can't
the cut
too. You had to wear their brand on everything.
Well, hey,
branded.
Look at the two of us.
Yep. Here we go. Oh, I just didn't wear my hat today, and I've got my sunglasses on my hat the entire time. Oh well.
All right.
The way it goes.
Well.
All right. Very good, Esther. Thanks again for joining us today. Truly appreciate you coming on, telling us about your experiences there, sharing your memories with us. Truly appreciate it. So,
and thank you all for joining us out there.
Hope to see you guys soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Bye, Susan. All right.
Well, and Esther, when we open the campus totally back up, please come see us.